Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Journey to Greatness. Day 72 of 365 with David McDonald, the GOAT. Uptown. All right, so to begin, we're going to get into our meditation routine. I will see you all on the other side. All right, everybody, welcome back. Amy, good morning. Auntie Luisa, good morning. AJ, good morning. Sister Fatima, good morning. My brother Brandon, good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. So we just finished our meditation routine. And now we're going to get into our journaling routine. I will see you all on the other side. '72. Welcome back, everybody. I think that journaling and meditation are starting to become my favorite activities during this type of time of the season. It's just really good to get those ideas out on paper. But nonetheless, welcome back, Liz. Good morning. I see you. Keep it up, man. I know you're always here. Okay, so we're gonna get into our reading routine. So I will see you all on the other side. All right. So to continue our discussion of growth mindset and fixed mindset, um, so the section of the book now talks about the title is a test score is forever. And essentially what the author has done here in short, they went to a fifth grade class. No, a test score is forever. So what they did was they pretty much, people with the fixed mindset allow for test scores to define their lives, the rest of their lives. And so the story talks about a young girl who wanted to be an eagle. I don't really know what that means, but I'm sure it's like some highly sophisticated program. So in the beginning, she didn't test well to get into the program, and then eventually she got into the program. But then to graduate and move on, like and go to like the next levels, she had to take another test, and she wasn't able to pass it. So at that time, she began labeling herself as incompetent. Her confidence went down. She didn't feel like she was qualified, etc. And for that young person, if she doesn't have anybody around her telling her that, hey, no, you still are special. This test must not define you. What areas in the test are you not doing well in? Let's go back. Let's review. Keep your confidence high, etc. Pouring love into her. Then this test, just like this chapter, just like the section of this book, a test score is forever. This test score will be forever for her. And so understanding that tests don't define us for a multitude of reasons is very, very important. Period. And so that's pretty much what this section of the book talks about. Person with a growth mindset understands that a test does not define an individual person. There's so many external variables like testing condition, preparation, understanding material, or understanding how to test and how to study. Different types of learning styles. What else? Let me see here. A number of other things. So I'll just say, and then like how the test is actually written. What skills it actually is testing for, and how each person, style of learning and testing is different. So there's a lot of different angles that I believe that are unspoken of, and that's the reason why a test isn't forever. A test score isn't forever, and that's a growth mindset to have. So another look at potentials, the next section of the chapter. And pause. Let me go back. And a lot of people feel that like if you don't test, then you're not smart or you're not capable. And some teachers even feel, for little kids. That's why it's really important, I think, to be involved in school, grade school with your children. But some teachers say, hey, if we assess you and you don't pass, then that's how we're going to treat you. Some teachers treat kids who have who don't do well on testing as, like they're lower than everybody else in the class. And that can really very much so demoralize a student, a young child, in a classroom, because again, the test is not forever, and people can grow into it. I mean, look at Elvis Presley. He wasn't always the most impressive individual. And then in his later years, he was, having lunch at the White House. And that's actually something, Carol Dweck actually mentions in her book also. And so, again, uh, for whatever it's worth, growth mindset. Another look at potential. This leads us back to the idea of potential and to the question of whether tests or experts can tell us what our potential is, what we're capable of, and what our future will be. The fixed mindset says yes. You can simply measure the fixed ability right now and project it into the future. Just give the test or task, or excuse me, just give the task or ask an expert. No crystal ball needed. So common is the belief that potential can be known right now, that Joseph F. Kennedy felt confident in telling Morton Downey Jr. that he would be a failure. What had Downey, later a famous television personality and author, done? Why? He had worn red socks and brown shoes to the Stork Club. So people cannot determine your success. Period. You may not meet their needs at that time, but any critical critique, any listing not earned, any buyer not helped, any business not started, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what it really comes down to is that nobody can put a label on you and nobody can tell you what your potential is. That all stems from the idea of having a strong mindset, being in love with yourself, holding yourself in the highest light, and manifesting a reality that is counter to anything that anybody, may critique you on, or any situation that you may not feel like you're triumphant in. And that's another look at potential. So a lot of people will try to measure potential based off of an exam, a material thing, a test of some kind, and then give you your projections. That's hogwash. We change every single second, and we cannot announce, nor can we oftentimes see the miracle that can come to us. I mean, let me break it down even more simpler than that. I could not know something right now. Like totally, it could be totally foreign to me. And I could go out into the world today and at one of my meetings, or I could run into somebody at the grocery store and they could say something to me that would totally 360 my whole mindset around this certain thing that I felt like I never understood because of the way I explained it, because of the way they delivered it. And that's an unseeable thing. It's unannounceable. I can't say that it's going to happen. Pause. I can say it's going to happen every single day and believe it's going to happen every single day. But with the universe's divine timing, it'll bless me with, when it's supposed to happen. So my point here is that somebody could say something so simple to you, something that you've been studying all your life that triggers something in your head and you've never gotten it. So that triggers something in your head about something that you just didn't have a good understanding about, and boom, it'll drop right into your lap, and then now you understand it. So because the universe is so vast, and because those options or those opportunities exist every single day, and it's not just in what you understand. It could be in money, it could be in a relationship, it can be in a person's behavior, it could be in opportunities, it can be in anything, literally anything. But because there's so many different possibilities, the sky's the limit in possibilities. We cannot say you take this test, so therefore for the rest of your life you're screwed. That's just absolutely preposterous. Hopefully I conveyed that point very clearly. But isn't potential someone's capacity to develop their skills with effort over time? And that's just the point. How can we know where effort and time will take someone? Who knows? Maybe the experts were right about Jackson, Marcel, Presley, Elvis, Ray, Lucille, and Charles in terms of their skills at that time. Maybe they were not yet the people they were to become. And it might be at that time, it might be in this very second, because things can change in an instant, right? And so they, after Carol Dweck and her team went in and did this survey study at this fifth grade elementary school, there was a professor or a teacher who made a critique saying that a test cannot determine a student's intelligence. He was the only teacher, and Carol Dweck appreciated his critique so much that she put it into this book. All the other teachers with fixed mindsets said, yes, indeed, you can judge a student's intelligence based off an exam. If a student doesn't do well on the exam, then we would treat him or her as such, which is really pathetic, because now what you're doing is you're not considering these other external variables. And when you don't consider these external variables, now you're putting this child into a category. And then that child, the moment they start believing in that category or that label that you've assigned to them, now you are mentally programming them for the future, which is kind of bonky, because if you are telling a child that they are incapable from the time that they're in 5th grade, and they assume that feeling all the way up until high school, how do you think they're going to perform? Unless their reality is augmented to a very strong degree somewhere else along the timeline. It's sad. And actually, I have a deep affinity for students who are labeled and that are put into a box, because I see their true potential. And people, for that matter, it doesn't just have to be students, but I see their true potential in them, and I know how great they really are. And I can see when people live a reality that other people have put onto them. And so, like, as I said before, it is my mission to help people step into their greatness, to show them their greatness, to step into their greatness, remind them of their greatness, or push them further into their greatness. And that's just because so many of us have been told that we're something that we're not. And we have to be able to identify who we are and live by that. I think that's really important. So proving you're special is the last section of this chapter. When people with fixed mindset opt for success over growth, what are they really trying to prove? I know a lot of people like this, that they are special, even superior. When we asked them, when do you feel smart? So many of them talked about times they felt like a special person, someone who was different from somebody who was different from and better than other people. Until I discovered the mindsets and how they work, I too thought of myself as more talented than others, even more worthy than others because of my endowments. The scariest thought, which I really entertained, was the possibility of being ordinary. This kind of thinking led me to need constant validation. Every comment, every look was meaningful. It registered on my intelligence scorecard, my attractiveness scorecard, my likability scorecard. If a day went well, I could bask in my high numbers. See, the thing is, you have to make yourself feel important. You have to be special to yourself, because the opinion of society is so vulnerable. The collective conscious can be vulnerable. And for somebody who, no matter how nice or how cool their life may seem, the reason why I work hard tirelessly every day, and mindfully every day, not to judge people or to practice the art of forgiveness, is because no matter how good my life is, I can't pass judgment on somebody else. But a lot of people pass judgment on other people, and they come from a place that's not so healthy, potentially. So when you're looking at society as a whole, and we look to society for validation, we're putting ourselves in trouble. Jesus came, held a nice light about himself. One day the people were loving him, singing songs to him. The next day they put stakes through his hands. I mean, that's a very, very big extreme, right? You have people who love and adore you, and they love you, like they're like, oh my goodness, you're everything. And then the next day they put stakes to your hands and hang you on a cross. like, so to believe in society's opinion of you, I think can be disruptive. And one mindset trick or one thing to think about is, for example, I'm grateful for everybody who jumps on the journey to greatness. I'm grateful for everybody who says hello in the morning. I'm grateful for all these things, right? But if nobody was here, I would still be here, because at the end of the day, most importantly, I'm holding myself accountable through this platform. And horizontally, I've been able to also align and connect and build deeper relationships with people who feel the same way, which is absolutely amazing. So that's like the mindset shift. If nobody shows up online, do you still show up? Or do you keep going? Do you keep putting your foot in the fire? Do you keep fighting? Nobody needs to validate you. Nobody needs to validate what you're doing. Oftentimes, a lot of people can't see what you see. So a lot of people can't see what you see. So you have to be the visionary, and you have to be the pioneer at times, oftentimes, actually, because that's just how it is. So January 11th, your best you ever. The passage is called Be Strong, Have Faith. Watch, stand fast in faith, be brave, be strong. As you take the next few steps in your life's journey, your faith will be tested many times. Even life, including yours, is a series of successes and failures, celebrations and disappointments, joys and sorrows. Every step of the way, through every triumph and tragedy, God will stand by your side and strengthen you if you have faith in him. If you place your faith, your trust, indeed your life in the hands of Christ Jesus, you'll be amazed at the marvelous things he can do with you and through you. Faith is a willingness to believe in things that are unseeable. And to trust things that are unknowable. Oh man, this is wild. If you place your faith, your trust, indeed your life in the hands of Christ Jesus, you'll be amazed at the marvelous things he can do with you and through you. This is the punchline right here. Faith is a willingness to believe in things that are unseeable and to trust in things that are unknowable. Those two things right there is the difference between living a life that you've always lived, however that's defined, and if it's great, perfect, and living a life of complete abundance and manifestation. All your dreams come true. Those two lines right there. That like one sentence. Today and every day, strengthen your faith through praise, through worship, through Bible study, and through prayer. God has big plans for you, so trust his plans and strengthen your faith in him. With God, all things are possible, and he stands ready to help you accomplish miraculous things with your life if you have faith. Faith reposes on the character of God, and if we believe that God is perfect, we must conclude that his ways are also perfect. A.W. Tozer. A lesson for the heart and soul. You cannot see the future, but God can, and you must have faith in his eternal plan for you. And that just goes back to everything that we just talked about. That's the reason why we don't put our trust in society's opinion of us. And it's because God knows the plan. So, and this is the simple base. This is the simple mathematics of manifesting a reality. Okay, it starts with a thought. Once you have a thought, right, you see, okay, your reality is telling you that, hey, this isn't possible. What you are experiencing is your reality. But you have to convince yourself otherwise. I know it sounds interesting, or maybe it doesn't. But you're experiencing something today, and I want you to assume the feeling of I want you to assume the feeling of what it feels like to experience the opposite of that, what you really want, whatever it is. And tell yourself it has arrived. It is here, and so it is. Whatever that is, and say whatever it is out loud. Tell that to yourself every single day. If it doesn't show up today, say it's here tomorrow. If it doesn't show up tomorrow, say it is here the next day. And keep doing this over and over and over and over and over and over and again. And when it shows up for you, send me a message. Being able to see the unseeable, and then having faith, knowing that God's time, it will show up. And every day assuming the feeling that it showed up today. It showed up today. It showed up today. It showed up today. And then holding that space for it to show up. And then defining yourself all throughout that, because you'll see changes. You have to change your mindset. You have to change the way you're thinking. And you have to pay attention to how you're thinking. And when it shows up for you, please let me know. Everybody, thank you for joining me. Day 72 of 365, The Journey to Greatness, Season 2, with David McDonald, the GOAT. I will see you all tomorrow at 5 a.m. Make today the best day of your life, and thank you for joining in.